Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the BLU Bold N1 and the BLU G9 Pro. So let's get started. So both of these devices are very new to the market, with the BLU Bold N1 just coming out last week. So I'm really excited to finally have a chance to compare these two phones here on the channel. Now currently, the BLU Bold N1, which is also known as the Bold N1, because Bold is a new sub-brand from BLU, is being offered at $199 as a promo price on Bold's website, but is also being offered for $249.99 on Amazon. And further on in the future, once the promo pricing is over, you're only going to be able to buy this for $249.99. And the BLU G9 Pro is being offered on Amazon for $199. So once the promotions are over for the Bold N1, it's going to be $50 more than the BLU G9 Pro. Based on the time that you're watching this video, the prices for both of these devices might have gone down, so definitely take a look at the links in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing for both devices. Now both of these phones are GSM unlocked, which means that they're going to work really well with the GSM carriers in the US, which include AT&T and T-Mobile, as well as Metro by T-Mobile and Cricket. You'll also be able to get these to work with some smaller prepaid carriers too, like Mint Mobile and Straight Talk, so you definitely have a lot of options. Now the Bold N1 features a 6.4-inch display, and the BLU G9 Pro features a 6.3-inch display. Both devices feature 1080p displays with 19.5:9 aspect ratios, but the biggest difference is really up top. So on the Bold N1, we do not have a notch. Instead, we have a pop-up front-facing camera that I'll show you in a little bit, but essentially we are getting a bezel-free design with the Bold N1. Now with both devices, we are getting 1080p displays with 19.5:9 aspect ratios. The display on the Bold N1 is 6.4 inches, and the display on the G9 Pro is 6.3 inches. So we do get a slightly larger display with the Bold N1, but the biggest difference is that on the Bold N1, there is no notch on the top, and instead we have a pop-up front-facing camera. So we pretty much get a bezel-free design with the Bold N1, whereas the BLU G9 Pro has a teardrop notch on the top. The teardrop notch design has been very popular throughout 2019 with budget smartphones, but the Bold N1 is one of the first budget smartphones that I've seen being offered at under $250 that doesn't have a teardrop notch, but instead has a pop-up front-facing camera. So a very cool innovation with this device, and I'm a big fan of it. That being said, I still do like the design of the BLU G9 Pro, and I think it really comes down to your personal preference and if you're interested in having a pop-up front-facing camera. Of course, there might be some concerns over the long term about whether or not that will be reliable. I'd imagine that you'll be fine. I don't think you should be concerned at all that the pop-up camera will fail over time, just because I don't see that happening. But you never know. I mean, it's definitely a newer innovation, especially on a budget device. So maybe you want to play it safe and instead get a device that has a teardrop notch. Now the front-facing camera on the Bold N1 is 13 megapixels, and the front-facing camera on the BLU G9 Pro is 24 megapixels. So you are getting a higher megapixel count with the front-facing camera on the G9 Pro. Both devices feature 128 gigabytes of internal storage with SD card expansion. Both devices feature wireless charging, which is another feature that I'm a big fan of and something that we don't see very often with budget devices. And both phones do feature fingerprint sensors. However, there's a pretty big difference. With the Bold N1, the fingerprint sensor is built into the display, and with the G9 Pro, the fingerprint sensor is located on the backside of the device. So let's do a demonstration of how well these fingerprint sensors work, starting with the Bold N1. So as you can see, I was able to successfully unlock the device with my fingerprint using the fingerprint sensor in the display. Now we'll try it out with the BLU G9 Pro. And that was very quick as well. Now, from my experience, the fingerprint sensor on the BLU G9 Pro is quicker and more accurate than the built-in fingerprint sensor on the Bold N1. But with real-life usage, I think you'll be very happy with both fingerprint sensors. I just wanted to point that out. Now we do have some major differences with the cameras in the backside of these two devices. Now with the Bold N1, we have a 16 megapixel main camera and a 5 megapixel secondary camera. Now that secondary camera allows you to use portrait mode with the device, so that's definitely a great feature, and it does work very well. Now with the BLU G9 Pro, we have 3 cameras on the back, so we have a 20 megapixel camera, a 16 megapixel camera, and a 5 megapixel camera. So the 5 megapixel camera assists with portrait mode. The 16 megapixel camera is actually the main camera, and that's used for the majority of photos that you're going to be taking. And the 20 megapixel camera is used with the night mode. So despite this device having 3 different cameras on the back, you do not get a wide angle camera, which is a bit unfortunate because I'm a big fan of that. But you do get a very nice, well optimized camera that will provide you with very good photo and video results. Same goes for the Bold N1, but definitely by just having 2 camera modules on the back, there are some limitations. But the good news is that with both devices, you are going to be getting very good photo and video quality, whether it's with the front camera or rear camera. But if your main priority is the photo and video quality, then you might want to go with the BLU G9 Pro over the Bold N1. But the point is that you're really not going to go wrong with either one. Now the Bold N1 features the MediaTek Helio P70 processor, and with the BLU G9 Pro, we're getting the MediaTek Helio P60. So a slightly inferior processor with the G9 Pro. Now I did do an Antutu benchmark test, and I'll show you the scores right now. And as you can see from these scores, the Bold N1 did score better, but not dramatically better. So with the Bold N1, we get a score of 145,545, and with the G9 Pro, we get a score of 139,654. And then for the CPU score, they are very close. We get a score of 60754, and with the G9 Pro, we have a score of 59034. So I would say overall, you're going to be getting pretty similar performance with both devices, but based off of these scores, you are going to be getting slightly better performance with the Bold N1. Now a little bit later on in the video, I am going to be doing a real-life speed test comparison between these two phones so that you can really see with a true, real demonstration how they compare. Now video recording with both devices maxes out at 1080p at 30 frames per second. With the Bold N1, we are getting a 3,500 mAh internal battery, and with the BLU G9 Pro, we are getting a 4,000 mAh internal battery. So a slightly beefier battery with the G9 Pro. Now both devices feature Android 9 Pie. Now BLU has pledged that the Bold N1 will be upgraded to Android 10 at some point in the future. I have no idea when that's going to be. It could be in a few months from now, it could be in 6 months from now, it could be in a year from now. I have no clue. They just said that they are planning on upgrading it to Android 10. And I think they are going to also upgrade the BLU G9 Pro to Android 10, but I have not seen any sort of pledge so far. Maybe they have made a pledge, but I just didn't happen to see it. So if you found any evidence that this phone will be updated to Android 10, then let me know in the comment section below. Now another thing I almost forgot to mention is that both devices feature 4 GB of RAM, so you're getting the same exact amount of RAM with both phones. So now that I've gone over the specifications of these two devices, let's take a closer look at the hardware. Now I already talked quite a bit about the front here of the two devices, where we get a 6.4-inch display with the Bold N1 and a 6.3-inch display with the G9 Pro, and both devices feature 1080p as the resolution with a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. Now, putting these side by side, it's very clear that with the Bold N1, we are getting a brighter and clearer display of the two. Now, the display with the G9 Pro is very good looking, and I'm a big fan of it, but there's no doubt that the display on the Bold N1 is a lot crispier, it's a lot clearer, and I definitely prefer it out of the two. But still, you'll be very happy with the displays on either of these two devices, so that's a very good thing. Now, taking a look at the left side of the two devices, we have a metal band running around the sides of the Bold N1, whereas with the G9 Pro, we get a reflective plastic finish around the side band. I do think both devices do feature nice materials though, and both do feel decently high quality, especially for their price. Now you can see on the left side here on both devices, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. With both phones, we are getting dual SIM compatibility, which is another great thing that I know is important to some of you. Now taking a look at the right side of the two devices, we have kind of a similar configuration here with the volume buttons and the power button. Then on the top of the two phones, they both have a noise canceling microphone, but on the Bold N1, we do have the little pop-up front-facing camera. Then taking a look in the bottom of the two devices, they both have a 3.5mm headphone jack, they both have a microphone, they both have a USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and they both have a speaker there. Then on the back side, we have that dual camera setup with the Bold N1, as well as a flash. And with the BLU G9 Pro, we have a triple camera setup, we have the flash, and we have the fingerprint sensor. Now you'll also see that we do have a little bit of a different design on both devices here on the back side. They both do feature a reflective plastic finish, but on the Bold N1, it's kind of just a piano black color, whereas on the BLU G9 Pro, we have this really cool, interesting kind of 3D look here on the back side. So I really do like that quite a bit. Let's now do a speed test comparison between these two devices. So we're going to start out by turning on the camera applications. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like it was about the same on the two devices. The Bold N1 might have been a little bit quicker. Let's now go to Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And it was about the same on both phones. Now you can see here with the two devices side by side, the display on the Bold N1 is definitely a lot clearer and brighter. And that's pretty much a common trend that you'll notice with pulling up anything on the displays of these two phones. So another reason why I prefer the display on the Bold N1 over the one that you find with the G9 Pro. Let's now go to yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And that was pretty close on both phones. Very quick on both, no doubt about that. Let's go to engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like that was also very close on both phones. Maybe a little bit quicker on the Bold N1, but both phones are really quick to pull up the website, so I'm very impressed with the performance here. We'll try a little bit of scrolling right now to see how that goes. Very smooth on the Bold N1, and also very smooth on the G9 Pro. So I think you're going to be very pleased with the web browsing performance with both devices, because I certainly am. Let's now go to this article to see how fast that loads up. So 1, 2, 3, go. And for some reason with that test, the Bold N1 was first to pull up that article. But with both devices, you are getting very comparable performance, and that was definitely reflected in the Antutu benchmark testing results. So I'm very pleased with both the Bold N1 and BLU G9 Pro. I think they're both very good devices, and there's certainly a lot different about these two phones, even though they do share a similar price tag, and some of the core specifications, like the amount of RAM they have, and the processors are pretty similar. Of course, there's no doubt that the Helio P70 is a better processor than the Helio P60 that we find with the BLU G9 Pro. But still, with the real-life testing that I just did a second ago, and the benchmarking scores, you are going to be getting similar performance with the two phones, which is a good thing to know. So I think what it comes down to is that if you want a more innovative device that features maybe a little bit more gimmicky features in a sense, because let's face it, you can survive with the fingerprint sensor on the back, and you can survive with a front-facing camera that's in a teardrop notch. But it's definitely very cool having a phone that features a fingerprint sensor in the display, and features a pop-up front-facing camera. Both of those features are very new and innovative for 2019. I don't think either of those features necessarily make your life easier or better. They're just cool features to have, and especially on a budget phone. Of course, we do not know the long-term reliability of that pop-up camera on the Bold N1, but I'd imagine that if you did have any issues, BLU's customer service department would be happy to help you. But for me personally, I'm not concerned at all with that reliability. I think you'll be fine, so definitely don't not buy this device because you're concerned about that pop-up front-facing camera. So for me personally, I would spend the extra money and go for the Bold N1. I think it's a lot more exciting and interesting compared to the G9 Pro. But you are getting better cameras with the G9 Pro, and you're getting a bigger battery with this device as well, so it does feature its own benefits. But I think both of these devices definitely pack in an immense amount of value for their price tags. So that's the best thing. I think they really both over-deliver for how much you're paying. So I'm really interested to know your thoughts about the Bold N1 and BLU G9 Pro. Which one do you prefer and which one would you buy? Of course, with the Bold N1, once the promotional pricing is over, the price for this device will be $249.99, which it currently is over at Amazon. So I will be leaving links in the video description for both of these devices to where you can buy them. Or if you just want to check up on the most up-to-date pricing, you can go to those links as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Kevin here. This is the Bold N1 from BLU, and this is the BLU G9 Pro, and I will see you in the next video.